Hello everyone, my name is Tamara Shovelton and I will be studying BCS this summer at the very beginning level. I will be doing the full course to include the extension. The reason that I chose this language is because I took, during my World War II studies program at ASU, I took a class on genocide and I did my final paper comparing the genocides in Rwanda and Bosnia. Through the research that I did, I discovered that I really want to continue my research, and the best way to do that is to be able to read and speak the language. So my hope going forward is next summer I'll be able to take the second level BCS course as well. So in terms of my background, I have two master's degrees. I have a master's degree in history, in European history specifically, from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. I also have a master's degree in World War II studies from Arizona State University. I currently work for 3 different institutions. I'm an adjunct at Wake Tech Community College in Raleigh. I also am an interviewer for the Betty H. Carter Female Veterans Historical Project with the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, and I work with the Veterans Upward Bound program at Suffolk University in Boston. I currently live in North Carolina, but this summer I will be all around because we just sold our house. Fun facts about me. I'm a much older student. I'm not really sure if that's a fun fact, but I have been married for 25 years. I have 4 children, 3 in college, 1 in high school. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so I grew up during the Cold War. I can remember the taking down of the Berlin Wall. I can remember the breakup of Yugoslavia. So that's sort of a little bit about me. I've always been very interested in Yugoslavia, even as an undergrad. I wrote a paper focusing on Josip Tito and the disintegration of Yugoslavia after his death. It seems sort of natural for me to follow this path into BCS. In terms of the articles that I read The Art of Bait by Larissa Kurtovic and Deja Vu, How Today's Western Democracies Recall Eastern Europe Under Communism by Janine R. Waddell. I would like to say, first of all, I'm not an expert on either one of these, Russia or Bosnia. I do know a bit about both of them, being that I'm a historian, but I'm definitely not an expert. When I read The Art of Bait by Larissa Kurtovic, the reason I picked that article was because I noticed it was about Bosnia, or had Bosnia in it at least, and since I'm doing BCS, it seemed sort of appropriate. But really the article was more about the United States and Trump, the election of Trump, and sort of an outsider's look, specifically a Bosnian outsider's look at the candidacy and election of a man who was so clearly xenophobic and had a high, very nationalistic. And of course, during Trump's term in office, we saw that xenophobia become worse. We saw his nationalism, at a height in terms of just his policies on immigrants and Muslims and, people from Latin countries. I mean, he was just an awful president, quite honestly. So I thought that this article was sort of interesting because it was coming from a viewpoint of the outsider looking in, specifically Bosnians who had been through so much with the breakup of Yugoslavia, with what happened with the breakup, with the rise of nationalism and xenophobia within Yugoslavia, specifically with Slobodan Milosevic. They even mention the Dayton Accords, which were an absolute, in my opinion, joke and just a slap in the face to the people of the former Yugoslavia, but we don't need to go into that. So I did find the article to be interesting in terms of looking at an outsider's view, an outsider who had been through so much and seen so much of the things that were sort of becoming a thing in the United States with Trump. And then I picked the article by Janine R. Waddell just because I thought it would be interesting. Of course, it's really pretty much in line with the art of bait in terms of understanding Trumpism and how coming from a former communist country, one could see Trump and Trumpism and how it aligned with sort of communist thought. So again, it's this sort of outsider's view about what's happening with the democracy of the United States. And so I thought that was that it was a really, really interesting, because in both articles, right, the art of bait is talking about how Trump and his campaign used bait and used information and changed it for a particular audience in order to gain their trust, and in order to push himself forward, and how the people on the outside and those opposing Trump weren't sure how to get a handle on this like fake news that became part of his presidency, unfortunately. And then, of course, the other article, Deja Vu, really kind of looks at, you know, Trump and again, his attitude towards the public, and how he wanted to get, you know, didn't give out like really good, reliable information, and how you really had to search for what the truth was. So I thought both articles were quite good and inadvertently sort of worked together well. I'm really excited about this course, and I can't wait to work with everyone. I'll talk to everyone later. Bye.